Hey, what up there, MFBA LOs? Doing a little driving right now this morning. Figured I'd reach out and send a video. So, a lot of people, have reached out to me at different times and they ask me, like, what did you do? How did you grow your business? Things like that. Um, Basically, the answer is simple. Just took a risk. I've never made a ton of money being scared. I have made a ton of money being not scared, and I've also lost a ton of money being not scared. So, whenever you take a risk, there are risks involved. But basically, what I did was I decided that I wasn't that great of a loan officer. Great salesperson. I could bring in loans. I could bring in a ton of leads, and I could sell the shit out of leads. I wasn't great at follow-up. Okay, like I was not great at the follow-up. I'm not great at paperwork. I'm not super organized. So first I decided, look, I need somebody to do all this paperwork for me. So I ended up bringing in like a loan officer assistant for myself. I had to pay them myself. There was the company wasn't providing it, anything like that, but I realized that it was going to make me more money. So I brought in someone to do all my paperwork for me. Next thing that I did was I decided it was time to start building a team. Okay, so when I decided to start building a team, I had 2 loan officers. That's it. I had one basically that I kind of inherited from another branch because I was sharing a branch with another guy, sharing an office space with another guy, and he never really showed up to work. So Jared, who's now my top loan officer and one of the top loan officers in the entire country, okay, he was just getting back into the industry after being out of it for 5 years, and everything had changed. So he didn't know any of the guidelines. He needed some help, and he needed to get his deals done that he was bringing in. He's good at bringing in deals. Well, his manager was never there, so he kept coming to me every day. So eventually I was like, look, man, I don't mind helping you, but just, come on in and let me get some money off of you at least. So we partnered up and I brought him in. Well, he is so good at follow-up, so organized, so everything else, that I realized I could make a hell of a lot more money if I just give all my leads to him. So I decided to go non-producing and build a team. I was like, look, I got the right guy in place now. I can start building a team. So I went non-producing manager. I just focused on marketing, just bringing in leads and getting the tough deals through underwriting. I'm a guideline guru, okay? So somebody would come in, I might take the application, I might even sell it, and then I just turn it over to Jared, and I never look back. I know he's going to close the loan, and he's going to close it on time, and we're not going to have any issues. So then we started just basically building teams around him. I also brought in another guy that I had actually recruited from someplace else. He was a really good, phone's ringing here. He was a really good loan officer elsewhere, working on a little niche, basically calling home equity lines of credit leads from LendingTree and flipping them to cash out refis. So I was like, look, why don't you come work for me? I'll make you a manager if you can teach other people how to do it. So I brought him in. He worked for me for a couple months, and then we decided it was time to build a team. Well, when I made this decision to build a team, I don't like hiring people with experience. People with experience, they got bad habits. They think they know every damn thing, and they don't want to learn. So we decided to build a team of salespeople with no experience. So we brought them in. All these salespeople came in. I gave them a $3,000 a month salary for the first 90 days. So they get up and running. They weren't starving at least. We could teach them the business, get them their license. I paid for their license. I paid for their classes, everything. I took a risk. I spent money and took a risk. And I ended up getting, we got like 4 people on his team now, on his sales team. None of them had experience when they came to us. Not a single one of them. And now that team alone, with 4 people, they're going to do about $5.5 million this month, I think, off of the leads. And then, so on Jared's team, we basically did the same thing. We brought in people with no experience, and we taught them to be outside loan originators. Again, I gave them a salary for the first 90 days. Some of them I even kept on a draw after the first 90 days because, I could see that they had business coming in, but because it was the purchase side of things, it takes a little bit longer to close that business. So I didn't want them to be starving. So, again, I spent a lot of money, but when I did this, I took a huge pay cut. When I decided that we were going to build this team and I was going to give all this, these salaries to these new people we brought in, I couldn't pay myself. So I set my salary really low. I set my salary at about $6,000 a month, which, for some people that might not be low, but for me that's low based on, what I'm used to earning. So, and honestly, $6,000 a month after you take out taxes, that doesn't even cover my bills. So I was living off of savings and, just barely bringing in enough money to cover most of my expenses. So I did that for, 4 or 5 months before things really got clicking. But once they got clicking, the money just starts pouring in. All right. So, we've done really, really well. Last year I didn't even start the actual sales team last year and make this decision to do all this until April, I think. So April is when we hired our first set of new loan originators and put them on salary and things like that. And I was able to actually take my first bonus in August. So I went 4 months really without paying myself hardly at all. But by the end of the year, I had made more money than I had made any other year in my entire life. So guys, it's about scaling your business, okay? You have to be able to replicate and scale. If you want to grow and you want to make more money and you want to make 7 figures, you have to replicate and scale. You can make 7 figures doing mortgages by yourself. You know, I know a few different loan officers around the country that do that, and they make 7 figures. But they're way more organized than me. So I couldn't do that. So I had to replicate and scale. So I just brought people in, we taught them the industry, and, you know, we pay them. So the fact of the matter is, if I could do $8 million a month by myself, which there's been times where I've done that, if I can teach 10 other people to each do $4 million a month, okay, now I have a $40 million a month business rather than the $8 million a month business I was running myself. And I can make half as much money on $40 million, you know, per deal basically than I could on my own. So by making half as much money, but, you know, more than doubling my personal production, I've given myself a huge pay raise. So there's no secret really on how you grow. You just take a risk. You got to be willing to take that jump and take that risk. And I know it's not for everybody, and managing isn't for everybody, and running a team and being responsible for everything isn't for everybody. Like we had a bad month in January. I think we only did like 3.8 million, and I mean, I didn't really make any money. I made money, don't get me wrong. My salary is much higher than $6,000 a month now, but you know, we didn't profit any, and so I couldn't take any bonuses or anything like that. So you're going to have risks, you're going to have ups and downs, but if you build it correctly and you have enough confidence in yourself, your ups are going to be way better than your downs. So don't be afraid to take a risk. I figured this is a long video. It's about 7.5 minutes long now, but I wanted to put it out there because I've had so many individual one-on-one conversations with people, and they all ask the same thing. Like, you know, how did you do it? How did you grow your business? That's how. You got the secret now. The secret, you know, is out there. I'll be happy to help any of you guys, you know, structure and plan and things like that if it's something you should decide that you want to do. So, you know, reach out to me if you want, and talk to you guys later. See you.